jeshi imeresign kwa sababu unakula pesa yao. Police resign, unakula pesa yao. Civil servants wa resign, unakula pesa yao. And their pension, legally, what is due to them is better than what they are getting today by working for you.
That is it.
Where do you end?
No, the government collapses.
Thank you, our viewers. This is our last episode of Savage Politics of the Year. I've decided to invite my friend, my brother. Today, we just want to do a review of a few of the things that have happened throughout the year with this brother of mine, Zack Kinuthia. Zack Kinuthia is a non-Kenyan. He's always on a number of platforms. I've had a few sessions with him. He's a lawyer. And recently, he was just a student. He was trying to finish. Was it your master's or no?
No, it's a advocate program.
Yeah, he was doing some advocate program. I think you finished exams last week, eh?
Yes. Very tiresome.
Welcome, Zack.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
Yeah.
Today, we just want to generally look at the events of the year. Of course, political events of the year. Kenyans are said to be people who forget too quickly.
Sure.
And also, the same Kenyans have said, we have a president who doesn't listen. There was the issue of hiking prices of petrol.
Sure.
That was the first issue in this regime. And it moved from 120, around 120, to 200 and something.
218.
And then, later on, there were platitudes. We have now reduced the price of petrol. It is at 180 something.
176.
Kenyans still forgot. We are still paying over 60 shillings.
Over what?
Over what used to be the price. Then thereafter, because I wanted you to look at that.
Sure.
Why have Kenyans forgotten it? And they have a president who doesn't listen. How do the two coexist?
Go together. First of all, thank you for bringing back the issue of cost of living, because if you remember very well, one of the gaffes this government has had to grapple with, especially the president and his team, is inconsistencies in the way they handle the question of affordability of energy. Because when this government came in, they found that the government then, the previous administration, had subsidized fuel, had subsidized the cost of energy so that Kenyans can afford energy to spur growth and personal satisfaction. However, with their own populism and misinformed priorities, I think the government came up with a system of removing the subsidy and claiming this fuel was costing high because cartels were being used to bring fuel and then have a markup of their profit. So what we are going to do as a new responsible government that cares for the people, we are going to remove bottlenecks and brokers. We are going to ask for fuel from our partners straight on. Government will procure from government using shilling, and then we are going to have cost of fuel dramatically go down. Hey! Kenyans clapped as if you thought there was an orchestra, as they are used to. You see, Kenyans, and I've been told by many people who have cared to study people, cultural anthropologists in Kenya, they say Kenyans have the emotion of an elephant, but the memory of a fly. Their emotion can explode. They call it euphoria. The euphoria for Kenyans is always high. Let us do this. X must go. We must do this. Emotion can really spread. However, when it comes to remembering where we have come from, why we are where we are, Kenyans cannot be relied upon.
Yeah, because actually it's shocking. Energy is not on the agenda, yet we are complaining about the cost of living. And if you look at the international oil prices, even if you took superior diesel, like EN 590 10 ppm, you buy it at about 445 US dollars per metric ton. That translates to 0.145 US cents per liter. So if then you add on the cost of bringing
Freight.
freight, it should not go beyond 70 shillings.
Yeah, true. You're right.
And yet, people are saying the Uhuru regime was subsidizing. There was a fund that only took care of fluctuations, which was $10, I think, per metric ton. That does not qualify to be a subsidy to me. Also, if you look at the graph of energy prices throughout the world from that time, to date, you cannot justify to me why you are selling petroleum to Kenyans at 180 shillings. It is not justifiable up to now.
Sure.
Now, the fallacy of it all is that it is no longer on the agenda. Kenyans are comfortable with it.
Yes.
Yet, they are complaining the cost of living is so high. And they have forgotten what drives the cost of living to go very high is energy. And that whatever we are buying energy at in this country. If you look at the rest of the world,
even our neighbors,
yes, it does not come to what we are paying. Hence, the high cost of living. Because production costs go high, because you depend on energy to produce. And diesel plays a major role in
production,
manufacturing. And we stopped questioning the cost of energy. Of course, it was also followed by a free fall in the dollar.
Yes.
Nobody has explained to Kenyans what was happening, what has changed for the dollar almost to come back to 120, 110, which was the actual value against the Kenyan shilling. Nobody's giving an explanation. In between, those that are responsible are comfortable because the first things they did, because they'll do this, create another thing to divert your thinking, and you forgot, you forget about what is paining you, because even whatever you are mentioning regarding, it was meant to be diversionary from the pressure from the young people, and it seems always to work with Kenyans. And Kenya has some of the best brains actually in Africa. How come we are not consistent in following what we need done? The issue of cost of energy is still outstanding. Nobody's explaining the radical behavior of the US dollar, which sometimes made us look stupid. You go to Tanzania, where we used to exchange a shilling at 24, it came to 9 shillings at one time.
Many years lost it. True.
At that time, how much did we lose in the process before the recovery started? Because then even Tanzania was complaining when we were with the Kenyan shilling that the worst currency that was moving when it comes to Tanzania was the Kenyan shilling. And we seem to have forgotten about it totally. We are comfortable because other agendas, which are set by a regime, particularly if corruption is involved, once I've set the system that I'm using to siphon you, I'll definitely generate another agenda to divert your mind. So that's another thing we're not looking at. Most government employees and public employees, their pay slips, when you look at them, it's pathetic.
Of course.
They made some noise
on Twitter.
Issues of, you're taking all our money for housing that is not well explained. You are pushed very quickly. It was diverted. I don't know what the housing is doing. Land belongs to the people. Money belongs to the people. The beneficiary of those houses, we don't know. And today you are saying you are now looking for agents to sell those houses.
To sell the units.
And surely, even legally, law society, when I give my money for a property, I must get consideration.
Of course.
How do you explain deduction of civil servants, cutting off a huge chunk of their money, and there's no consideration they are getting? I'm sweating, you are taking my money, there's nothing I'm getting in return.
Not even shares.
Not even shares.
It's not in a corporation.
Not even in
where
anything.
I can redeem my shares.
Yes. So it seems Kenyans have also forgotten. The civil servants are now comfortable to suffer with it. So in the whole of that period, I want you to help me because maybe my memory is not serving me right. If you can point out just one thing that this government did that was right. One.
Well, I'm trying to also think which, because one good thing can redeem 1,000 wrong things.
Yes.
And since there haven't been any redemption, then it turns out there's nothing been good served on Kenyans. When young people exploded, remember, they were triggered by finance bill of 2024.
Yes.
The previous year's finance bill, which was 2023, had undergone the same problem of hiking taxes and bringing new taxes like housing levy, which were swept under the carpet by the overriding and overbearing presidency, which was from beginning set to do what it want by hook and by crook. Whether there is law or not, we are going to do what we want. So that noise, that agitation, that disappointment and disillusionment from civil servants, young people, culminated into the fateful events that we had in Kenya, 2024, this year in June, because it looks like the main drive for this regime had been tax and tax them more. Raise taxes. Remember education? That even the cost of education was raised. The subsidies that had been there since independence for capitation, student subsidies in the universities, a new form of, rather a new model that seems to have removed the gains that we had made in education were introduced. Consequently, so many young people dropped out of university. Actually, it would be very wrong to bypass the fact that in the traditional 200,000 young people who had been invited, admitted in the universities, for the first time, over 30% could not afford. Over 30% could not go to the universities. They remain in rural areas, rotting and wailing, because, first of all, they have no information. The things we say they should come and apply for these bans, this wind, this whatever, it was never clear to these people. So, over time, I also would want to be as lost as you are in trying to locate one good thing. You know, they say, tell me that, give us one good thing. When they pray, God, remember one thing I have done and help me out. Even God looks at your file, looks at what you have done in your youth, looks at what you have done in your adulthood, and then he can no longer allocate only one good thing to save you. So he sends you straight onto the lake of fire.
I was talking to somebody who works at the former National Hospital Insurance Fund.
The defunct.
And a majority of them were deciding, if you look at our pension, if I resigned now, it's actually equivalent to the salary I'm earning now. So if I spend my time going to work for an institution, and what I'm getting is what I can get if I retired now, why am I working? Assuming the public servants, all of them, civil servants, public servants, looked at their pay slip critically and analyzed it against their earnings today because of these crooked deductions that are adding no value to Kenyans' lives. They're just ending up in somebody's pocket. And they discover that it is better for me to retire today. And we have mass resignations, and the people are saying, let me go home with my pension.
And do other things.
And do other things. Where will this government get the money to pay those pensions?
It will collapse. It will be a collapse of it. And that is the problem of myopic thinking for policymakers. When you have policymakers who do not think in posterity, but are hell-bent on creating a pool of money in the immediate without considering the welfare of the people they are taxing, there are bound to be problems of that nature. And God forbid, if people would resign, that would have ripple effects into generations. Yeah.
Jeshi imeresign kwa sababu unakula pesa yao.
Yeah.
Police resign, unakula pesa yao.
Yes.
Civil servants wa resign, unakula pesa yao.
Yes.
and their pension legally, what is due to them, is better than what they are getting today by working for you.
That is it.
Where do you end?
No, the government collapses. And that would effectively end the regime.
And talking about a miracle that will happen one day, I'm going to tell you, you realize I was seeing far.
That is it.
And if you are seeing far, the looting that is going on, see near first.
See here.
See here first.
Before you see there.
Before you tell us you are seeing far. How certain are we that we are going to have a country up to 2027?
That is a question that the rulers of the country, the people who have a mantle of the leadership, should consider deeply, because it is at stake. Things are at stake as it appears. And I think the realignments that you are seeing being mooted in government presently have everything to do with the fact that you have asked me that question. The realization that the more we press on this matter, the more we are digging. We are in quicksand. And the more we try to get off, the more we are sinking. So we need a cross-cutting hands on the deck, that all of us should come together and do what you are saying. Listen, did you realize that previously President Ruto and his government was averse to listening to anybody outside their government? Did you realize that? Even multinational
when they
lenders
talk to those
Yes.
multinational or those outside their government,
Yes.
do they ever listen? You know the question we are dealing with here? We are dealing with a government that never listens. They got ODM into the fray.
Yes.
Yeah,
And continued with the bad habits.
what has changed?
No, that's a question, because listening and hearing are two different things. All governments will hear what you're saying. But listening means deep consideration of what has been said and accepting that you don't know it. The greatest leader is the one who appreciates that, yes, I have my vision, which I sold to the people to work with me. But I am not the end, neither am I the alpha and omega of nation's treasure of knowledge. There are people who have better ideas than I do. And secondly, leadership, governance, and politics is dynamic. What was right last year may have been overtaken, because they say a good idea always must give way to a better idea. Better ideas that are generating from young people, from women, from private sector, from women groups, from ambassadors, from neighbors, all these good ideas. A good government is the one that puts the ear into the ground, listen as far much widely as possible, and then pick the best of these ideas and implement them. Because good thing with the people, citizens, once they think the government listens, they will give their ideas. Once they realize the government does not listen, they are going to do what? They are going to retreat, and they are going to agitate. Their agitation weakens fundamentally the tenets of the state. And I think this is a problem that we are facing today. The question of whether we will have government in 27 or before 27 or after 27 is a question that should be answered by taking the right steps for the president, for the government, for the parliament, for the judiciary, for private sector.
And what we saw the other day, reaching out to Uhuru
Kenyatta,
for the interests of Kenya, things would have been different. But if I'm reaching out to you to suffocate thinking, the common man
or to dissent,
will have no leader, because I have taken all the leaders under my management.
I think one of the major weaknesses of President Ruto is that he hasn't realized the 2010 Constitution puts the citizen at the center of governance. That even if you are doing a road in my neighborhood, you need to listen to me, because I want to tell you how I want that road built. Previously, it was not possible. Government holded things over the people. But this constitution, through a concept called public participation, is a theme that runs from Article 1 all the way to the last Chapter 12 article, that people are central to governance. You must listen to them. You must ask them how they want to be taken, where they want to go. It is not necessarily that you are making a finance bill for them, thinking good for them, and that because you think well for them, you need not ask them. No, we have learned through bitter lessons as a country that even good intentions, like Uhuru, good intentions in his government to his own people in central Kenya were deemed to be, they said, we do not eat, for example, roads. Never mind that these roads are supposed to spur their economic growth and such things and ease their transportation and logistics. Yet, because they don't feel listened to, they don't feel involved, they don't feel part of that project.
Trump just said he's not going to allow GMO. Our president was on TV saying he'll eat GMO. Has he grown horns because na matiti?
Hata mea matiti.
Europe has said no. Do you as Kenyans honestly believe there is a day you have a government in place that will ever listen, that will even try and implement the things like public participation? We saw how it was implemented in removing Kashagwa. We saw how the courts were muzzled. We know parliament is muzzled. And you are, as Kenyans, you have the power, they say, at Kowan, the one you're talking about, that sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya.
Yes. And they can exercise it.
They can exercise it directly or through.
Directly is through what?
No, they say directly or through the elected representatives.
No, directly or indirectly.
Yes.
Indirectly is through the elected representatives, including the president.
Yes. But have you, as lawyers, told us, those that are not in that profession, how we can then exercise power directly?
Yes. Yes.
How do we exercise it? It's not provided for. You have said we can exercise power directly.
Yes, directly.
But how do we do it directly?
You have heard this saying that msichukue sheria mikononi. You have ever heard that?
Yes.
Msichukue sheria mikononi mwenu. That is what we call direct sovereignty. Because maandamano is
But
direct.
how do you exercise it? You know, when you tell somebody, usichukue sheria mikononi mwenu, you are telling them, respect the law.
Yes.
Really, that's what you mean.
That's what you're telling them.
But this is a situation where we are told we can exercise sovereign power directly. How do you is it through a referendum? Is it through what? How do we exercise?
Any act.
You have not explained
any action
it to us.
where you have power to do something, that is direct.
I'm assuming
yes.
Kenyans are so fed up with this system and they want to get rid of it. When they come out there, the government hires goons to beat young children.
Beat them up.
They kill some of them. And I was talking to a friend also who tells me body parts. A human being, you can raise 100 million out of body parts of a human being. We don't know if that is a business our government is in. Because honestly, when you go murdering children, when you go in Australia, there are bags and bags of bodies in the other place where people are murdered as if they don't exist. Kwakware,
Kitengela.
We have a government that is trading in body parts.
This one are dark topics.
No, I'm just asking.
Yes.
We have a government that is trading in body parts.
It's a valid question.
This femicide story.
Yes, it's a valid question.
This Subaru.
You never say no.
Business.
Yes.
What is going on?
Now, these are the questions that Kenyans, and I'm sure you are asking the questions at the right heart of what is ailing us. The anger out there and the bitterness is at the center of what you are saying here. That people are trying to get answers they can't find from a government that they installed in power, from leaders that they elected, from the members of parliament they gave mandate on behalf of them to be asking this question. But they seem to have been muzzled by an overreaching, executive, and most of them are,
the three arms of government are under the mercy of Kenyans. The only thing this constitution has not done is to tell Kenyans, how do you exercise your power directly? If you want to sack your government, is it through picketing? Is it through going to the streets? Or what legal procedure or parameters can you follow? It could have been done by an act of parliament because they have said people can, the constitution says we can exercise power directly.
Directly, yes.
And now we decide as Kenyans we want to exercise power directly. And there's no act that explains on how that can be done.
I think that's a good challenge for lawyers.
And the lawyers should come up and tell us what do we need to do.
I think LSK...
There's Law Society.
Yes, I think LSK should take that.
And there are very many people in the legal fraternity
public litigators
who really have the goodwill of this country.
Yes, they got public
I saw a Supreme Court judge the other day come out and say, why don't we have an IBC?
Yeah, good question. Why are systems failing us? E-filing systems. Those are two fundamental questions that the judge was asking. IBC and e-filing.
Do you agree as Kenyans?
Yes.
If this country collapses on us, we are solely to blame. because this country belongs to Kenyans.
Yes. We are
the
ones.
Constitution says we can exercise our power.
Directly.
And that we have not started thinking on how to exercise our power. Instead, we are giving in to a government that buys guns when we try to picket. We were told Kindiki was cleared by IBC. And as far as I know, you don't leave, even if you resign, you don't leave office until you have appointed somebody else to replace you, because you have to hand over. So in my view, the old IBC, because really the interpretation of the courts are that the commissioners are IBC,
yes.
meaning Kindiki is in office illegally, because it's the secretariat that cleared him, not IBC. Right?
Sure.
Because really, if commissioners are unnecessary, and then why are we recruiting them? Are you getting? Meaning, there is now, we are going towards breakdown
of law. Rule of law.
Rule of law. That means we are headed in another direction that is extremely dangerous, and that there is no institution that has been left in this country standing on its feet to salvage the situation legally. Meaning, Kenyans must start agitating for taking power into their hands, dismissing the government, and that amendment or whatever act must provide on, if you dismiss the entire government, how do you get a new government in place?
There must be a legal instrument.
Now that the only time you listen is I listen because I don't want Kinuthia, who is a politician, to go and team up with the so fed up Kenyans to cause trouble for me. So I'll offer Kinuthia where to sit, give him some coins, which I'm looting taxes from Mananchi, and Kinuthia sits there and now tells people, you know, we can no longer be in opposition forever. Right?
You try to appease.
Yeah. You are appeasing them to now talk. You've had some talk from ODM leadership that is really shocking, right? And we see somebody who you raided their farm yesterday, taking goats and killing goats, embarrassing a former president. All of a sudden, there's that magnanimity where you don't even invite him to State House. You go to his house because he is the next victim for use. The way Raila is a victim of use. Because for me, Raila is just being used.
It is not that Kenya is lacking the people right to take it where it should be. It is not that we are lacking the right leadership. It is not that women haven't given birth to children who have been taken to school, who cares and knows about this country. The question is thrown back to the people. The sovereignty, the supreme sovereignty of those voters. When it comes to time, and Cyrus, you have been here a long time enough than me. When it comes to making that decision, when it comes to exercising that direct power, Kenyans are always failing us. Why? And we must address them through this channel, that they always want to vote for the charlatans. They want to vote for the liars. They want to vote for those people who come with money. They are voting for the people whose tongues are most lethal. They are averse to good men who have dignity and have policies to implement good change, simply because they have no money. So what has turned us...
But you see,
yes,
that,
because good people always lie.
You can understand the dilemma Kenyans are in.
Yes. Currently they are...
That you stand on a platform.
Yes.
You talk and you are a grown-up.
Yes.
You promise people I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 things. And you are lying.
Yes, openly. And you know it yourself.
And you have a family, you have children.
Yes.
That tomorrow your own kids will know that this is a liar, mommy is a liar. Because of the actions you do next.
They are watching you and they say,
what kind of society are we really breeding?
The question, Cyrus, that I always throw there. Do Kenyans know they are being cheated by the cheater?
Of course they know. That's why the Gen Z children came out. But when you are talking to them looking for their votes, we look so genuine.
Yeah, but they know it's a lie.
Yet our intentions...
Can they tell it is a lie?
It is very difficult for anybody to tell.
Okay.
Ole Sapit was the biggest supporter. He's now the bitterest, the most bitter
and it serves him
critic.
Right. It serves him right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he was lied to. The church has clearly told us we were lied to.
Yes.
And of course, other than even Christ went to some church and there were money changers doing their business. We have those churches in Kenya who don't care even what people are feeling about.
It is what
but
you
the
bring.
true church,
is what you bring.
the Catholic have stood firm. The NCCK has said, issued a statement.
Yes.
Oli Sapit has come up and said, no.
He has recanted his faith.
Yeah, this man, I trusted. There is nothing wrong when you trust somebody because he lied to you. And there is nothing wrong Kenyans have done for being lied to. But now that you realize you are being lied to,
what do you do?
What actions do you take?
You scrutinize the one who is telling you things because we have all the tools. Remember, we live in better times than you guys did. To be honest, Gen Zs are living in better times than you guys did because today we have an explosion of information. If I stand here as Zack Kinuthia and promise that upon assumption of office, I will need 100 days to turn all tap water into wine, and everybody will be drinking gin from the couch of their comfort. Hallelujah.
But you know,
I'm going to say such things. And you'll see people clapping and happy.
Listen.
Can they verify?
Let me tell you one thing. Give this government credit for being the best lying regime that we have never elected in the Republic of Kenya.
Right.
When you come up with a narrative to a poor man, and tell him you are poor because Zack is rich.
Yes, yes.
And I'm now going to change everything so that you are the one who is rich and Zack is poor.
Yes, yes.
That's a heavy psychological game.
I will give you the money
This is the time Mama Mboga is realizing.
Yes.
No, I was being lied to.
Yeah.
This is the time, but the border is realizing I was being lied to. You can't blame them. What we need to be thinking about is what is the most legal way going forward
to safeguard
in 2025.
Yes.
Because for sure, I can tell you for free, there is nobody in this government who's seated on a table sincerely looking for a solution for this country. We have people who can only, whatever they pronounce, if they tell you government to government, they are making money.
It's transactional.
It's transactional. If they tell you e-citizen, it's transactional. If they tell you we are changing the name of National Hospital Insurance Fund,
to SHIF.
it is money they are looting, taxes of money. If they tell you we want to build affordable houses, and they are not telling you
there must be a deal
that you are contributing.
Yes, yes.
This is what you as an individual gets in return.
There must be a deal.
They're just stealing from you directly.
There must be a deal there. So lawyers like us will come up with ways, and I'm sure this is a good conversation. And I see you host lawyers here. Let them tell us exactly, because the way we understand through the Constitution today is that direct power is won through election. The first and the most sure way is through an election. Through an election like we did in 22 that we are doing in 27 and saying, we are going to remove Cyrus, we are going to remove Zack, we are going to put X. Now that is direct and it cannot change. Legally,
in conclusion,
that cannot change.
In conclusion, what can you advise Kenyans?
The first thing I would say, and perhaps this is more out of reflection, I've been thinking about it, about us Kenyans, is that this is not the first election. This is not the first time, immediately after election, say in a half term, that we have become bitter. We were bitter in 2005. And that is why we did not pass the constitution. We were bitter with Kibaki. There were talks of betrayal. There were talks of electing people. There were talks of corruption. You remember agro-leasing. There were talks of leaders looking back unto the people. There were talks of high cost of living. There were talks of an affordable education. Never mind Kibaki had brought free primary education. 2 years into the election, there was agitation and bitterness of a government that we had installed in power. The next 2 years, 2006 and 2007, politicians marooned platforms from churches to burials to social events, preaching about 2027, either as a tool for hate or as an inspiration for hope. There was a candidacy that was speaking about hope for 2007. There was another camp that was preaching division and hatred amongst the people and saying it is wrong because of this. Like today, I think Raila and his team demonized Kibaki for 2 straight years, fighting in the streets and in the burial in the villages. You know what we ended up. 2007, we had a controversial election. We wanted to remove the government by all means. Actually, entire Kenya wanted to remove Kibaki and his machinery.
It was for 20 tribes versus
yes,
one tribe.
So because of an anger that had been built over time. Remember?
Of course, also a narrative.
A narrative was created after a referendum that ended up...
And now we are realizing those who created that narrative, that all of us vote as Kenyans, they are not genuine because they have an opportunity today,
but they are,
and they are doing worse.
Exactly. Worse than Kibaki. 2025, we are entering half term. You have just rightly put it, that we have 2 months into 30th month. So February 9th, we will be entering 30 months since we voted. This is my prognosis, or rather my advice to the people of Republic of Kenya. I don't have much hope on the older folks. My hope and my progressive thinking is lying on the young people, the youth. 2025, we are going into war. And the war that we are going into, we must prepare. We are not calling for arms. We are not calling for bloodshed. But we must go into a war. Revolution already started. Young people have said, we don't want X, we don't want Y, we are not going to walk into a certain path of life. We don't want some people. I am happy because this generation have identified principled politics. They don't want liars. They don't want thieves. They don't want corrupt bribers. And they don't want dealers. They have said that is very clear. So they now have started moving into looking at the quality of the leaders they are installing in power, regardless of tribe. Remember, they were tribeless. Regardless of where they come from. Remember, they did not want anybody to say, I am born of this royalty or not. So we are going into war. How do we begin mobilizing for war? We must collect our arsenal. Our arsenal, first and foremost, lies in our pocket, the vote. Whether the election will be 2027 or earlier, we must have the vote. Because it is not enough for young people to be agitated and build a certain height of agitation. And then a chance come in, the thing we didn't want in a government is gone. Either is defeated or is flies out of the country out of fear. Then we have ourselves. We are making noise. How do we install a government legally for the sake of peace and tranquility, and we don't have votes? So young people, 2025, the issue of IBC is secondary because it will be sorted. We are going to push. This one, we are pushing in courts. We are pushing in the dialogues. We are pushing in shows like this. I am sure this IBC will be installed by February. Towards the 30th month that you are saying, I am sure IEBC will be put in place before the end of March. That one I can guarantee because there's not going to be peace until we have this one. But IBC is not an end to itself. It's not an end game. We must take this IBC as a stepping stone towards total overhaul of a government that we want to change for a people listening, progressive, and a government that cares for the people. And me, as Zack Kinuthia, I have always said, and I've fallen into many trouble. I believe if today I was to say what I believe about governance, I believe of a welfare state where nobody has too much and nobody has nothing. We must find a way where the most vulnerable of our societies are taken care by those who can, like you and me. That a government must push policies that, of course, allowing free market, but that cares for the most vulnerable, those who will never contribute anything to the economic fulcrum beyond consumption. We must create a society where every child born bona fide of our country can go to school. We must create a society where medical care is accessed to the remotest part of our country professionally and with infrastructure that supports that kind of medical health and clarity. Number 3, I believe that until we feed ourselves, we cannot be useful to our country. The reason why, as you say, people keep changing is because they are hungry. People are hungry. The reason they vote for barons, whether they are drug barons or they are human organs barons, is because people have money. So ruling elite have realized that they can only control the masses if they can throw a carrot stuck on a stick. This carrot is their taxes. So they will come and steal money. Then they are going to use that money to endear themselves. So young people, because I said I don't have much hope on the elderly folk. I respect them. They are my parents and my senior brothers and sisters. However, as far as 2025 to 2027 is concerned, I don't believe them. I want to lay my hope in the 78% of the people who are under 35 this year, that as we enter into 2027, 2025 is a year that we begin to train, because we have a war that we must win or perish. 2027. So
you have said,
yes,
but you haven't helped me much. I think the way forward is very simple. One, the law society and those practicing law and those of goodwill who understand the technicalities in a constitution help us to amend our constitution to show us how we can exercise powers directly so that we can recall this government in 2025. Two, it did not take very many people to change the Philippines. Marcos was such a tyrant, and we are seeing it here. Where is our church? Ole Sapit, come forward. The head of the Catholic Church, come forward.
Philip
Anyolo, come forward. We also need them to tell the nurses to go in front before we call on our little young children to follow them, because they found a medicine for them.
Yes.
You pay thugs to go and kill them. You use the police on KICC to fire and kill innocent children. So we must reach a point where we are saying, if you are going to use our taxes and pay marksmen out of our taxes to kill us, us, the church, are in front. The sisters were in front. That's what Cardinal Sin did.
And then they take the front line.
Yes, then call upon our children to come forward, and we insist we want to exercise power directly.
As a
We
people.
want to do it legally as a people. And we do that amendment
We the people.
with the people and recall this government home and then deal. Of course, we'll have a framework on what do we do next.
What do you think they would?
I think that's the only way.
I think that's a very radical proposal, and I've always feared your mind, because it radiates blazes of radical thinking. Because what you have said is very clear.
Yes.
If Catholic, PCA, ACK, Baptist, Evangelicals would first of all say we are coming in front to lead these demonstrations to demand certain change, no policeman will shoot a bishop.
How?
Okay?
That's
And
the only way
that's where the real
you
power lies.
genuinely can be a protector of your congregation.
Exactly.
There's nothing radical about it.
But if you said your congregation, they'll be mauled. They'll be tear gassed.
You come, you be in front, and the rest of us need to join them
I
on
think
the street.
that's radical enough.
And
I
that
love
is
it.
the only way.
No, I love it.
I think we can change
I
the
think
situation
I love
in
it.
this country.
Can we call Bishop Anyolo and Sapit? Tell them Jirongo want to have some tea with them?
I think we need
because
to have
that's
tea.
very nice. I think I have never
That's
thought
the only
about
way
it.
forward.
I never thought about it that way. And you make me remember the American civil rights leader, Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was never the one giving direction. He was leading the front line, always holding with other bishops of Baptist. And governor of
Cardinal Sin did it much more recently.
here
Forget about civil rights.
Yes.
In Philippines.
went in front.
And Arroyo became president, and the things changed, and that country is a democracy today. And today, you cannot believe it. Marcos' son is the president,
yes.
and he's a very democratic leader.
Yes,
he
yes,
learned
true,
that
true.
his father goofed.
Yes. And now he's correcting the errors of his father.
He's correcting the errors of his father.
And he's popular for that purpose.
Yes, maybe Nick Ruto in future will correct the errors of his father.
If you say that before the congregation, I'm afraid all your teeth
will go down.
Yes.
No, I'm saying it in good faith. In good faith.
Even your cameraman,
we have no reason.
Even your cameraman want to come for you.
We have no reason to hate any single Kenyan. We have no reason whatsoever.
Agreed. No.
Yes.
Everybody has his right.
Yes.
But I think what we can
And you can't punish me
I think what we can
for the ills of the late Jirongo.
True. What we can take
I think
from this-
differently. I'm a human being.
It's true. You are distinct
Yeah,
as an
I'm
entity.
distinct.
As an entity.
entity.
I think what you can take home, what our listeners should take home from this show, among many things that we have said, because already they know them. I think what they can take home is that if LSK leadership, which has 9 council members, can join with bishops, Catholic has 30 bishops, I think 30 or something or there about synod. The synod is called KCCB.
And call some of us will come.
If all of them, no, for you and you, they go for us.
Yes.
Okay.
No, irrespective. One of the things you must accept
Yes.
is that they are going to come for you.
No, I'm saying
Yeah, if you are scared that they are going to come for you, then you will never cause change.
No, but somebody told me, you can be a hero in your grave, but you cannot effect change. So what is important?
So now it means the fear of the Subaru has gotten into your head.
No.
I'm at your level,
I'm saying
you can start fearing Subaru.
This is what I'm saying. Please contextualize.
Then we are a problem to this country. You are part of our problem. We should go and face the Subaru.
Contextualize what I'm telling you.
Yes.
When bishops are there, you are not necessary because they can do much more. But if bishops won't go, then you and I must go.
Bishops are preachers.
Yes.
They have just come to hold the hand
Yes.
of the congregation.
Of what you have been doing.
You are the leader. You must provide solutions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One of the solutions.
So you can't say
Yes.
we leave the bishops to go and Kinuthia and Jirongo warudi kwa nyumba wajikunje. We must.
You know, you are not one of people who we are not cowards. We have never been cowards.
And then when you say you are scared of Subaru.
No, I'm not scared. Subaru is not something to scare me. I'm just saying, don't give your enemy unnecessary power. There are people who go.
Power belongs to the people.
Yeah,
we only have a small complication.
Yes.
How do we exercise this power?
There's a small technicality.
Yeah, a small technicality. How do we exercise it? Because they have not put in place a law
Yes.
that spells out on how we will exercise power.
No, now we have some work to do.
Now we have agreed.
Yes.
In conclusion, 2025.
Yes.
Do I and you agree?
Yes.
That we cannot continue crying
when we have the power with
we
us.
have the power,
yes.
And we are saying every Kenyan is upset, every Kenyan needs change, and all Kenya require is to be organized
and
do things peacefully, smoothly, including the goons who are paid, join us,
because they're also
and
suffering.
we change our country for the betterment. You are a goon because you can't get employment.
That is true.
If you are employed, nobody is going to pay you.
If you had a cottage
to
industry,
go and steal handbags from young children,
you won't be available.
And the water from young children,
Yeah, you can't be
and
available.
phones from young children,
or hit your father.
Yeah. Nobody will pay you.
Nobody will pay you. Actually, you'll be so busy doing your own work. So we agree in principle that you and I
that we have a job to do in 2025.
2025.
Iko kazi.
All the words are now in the past.
Yes.
Now
it is action.
March forward, march systemically, and go embrace your future.
2025, we will be part of the action.
Agreed.
If not, we will lead the action.
Join us, our listeners, our viewers, into the year of action.
Thank you very much.
Mwaka wa vitendo.
Mwaka wa vitendo.
Mwaka wa maneno imekwisha.
Imekwisha.
Asante sana.
Nashukuru.
Thank you.
Savage politics.